Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Four Dads Podcast. You got Teeds here with Don Julio and one of our TikTok followers that I met through live the first time I somewhat successfully went live on TikTok. Hunter, is last name Moray or Maury?
Maury.
Maury, awesome. So one thing that was pretty exciting when Hunter was going back and forth with me live is he just became a dad. So congrats on that. So he is
Awesome,
officially
man.
a golf
Thank you.
dad, and
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. And you're right in the beginning of things. How has sleep been? I know that was like my biggest thing. Was I didn't even want a second kid after like a week. I was like, me and my wife were like, no, I don't think we can do this. But everyone's different. Every kid's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very
I'm
different.
lucky enough to have my mother-in-law here helping out. So I
Huge.
have like the mid shift, I guess you could say. So I stay up until like 2:30, and then I get relieved by my mother-in-law, and then I sleep, and then I'll wake up in the morning, and then so this is kind of like right up in my alley. This is my shift, so it's
Oh,
really great.
perfect. I know when I had
Nice.
my son, my mother-in-law lives like probably like half a mile away, like in our little sub
Oh,
community. And like that's like the life hack that no one tells you about. Like having either, parents or, parents-in-law near when you have a kid. That's
yeah.
the ultimate life hack. Because without her, I would have never gotten any sleep. My wife and I were just dying. But we survived, and Julio survived. He's got how old's your daughter now, Julio?
My daughter is going to be 8 months tomorrow.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
pretty, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But John hates when I talk about this because my daughter was a
Yeah.
sleeper right out the gate. I mean, literally, like moving from putting her to the snoo to then our transition to the crib. Like she's like, "You feed me, I'm out." And when it comes daytime naps, she like we have to wake her up. If we don't, she will literally sleep all day if she could.
Jeez.
So we've been pretty lucky on that point. But I'm not saying like she's great because she's had nights where she's woken up and she wants to play, she wants stories, she wants extra milk, and I'm like, hey, I'm half asleep right now. Like the fact that I was able to get the nipple to your mouth is like, hey, miracle. I believe in miracles now, but we
Right.
did it. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's funny.
So what did Hunter? Did you have a baby girl, baby boy?
Baby boy. Yeah, baby boy.
Nice.
So I'm pretty stoked about that. Yeah, I already took
Yeah.
him to the range. So
I know. Yeah, you sent
Yeah.
you posted a picture on Twitter. That was just pretty cool. I mean, I think I took my son to the range. We are right outside of Pleasanton or Pleasant Hill. Like Julio's like
Mhm.
North California. I was coming back from Oakland. My wife's like, let's go to the driving range. And I was like, okay. So I brought a driver and we get there. It's like 100 degrees. Like everyone that has an opportunity to be underneath like the little like canopy or whatever, was there. And the only things that are open are like right in the middle of the freaking sun. And I'm like, my son barely has any, tan or anything because it's so hot
yeah,
out in the valley where I'm in Central Valley, Fresno, Madera, California. So it's like really hot in the summer. You got to go limited time. And we were there for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, like that was cool. It took like 5 or 6 swings. I'm not trying to sweat myself up and then drive another 3 hours stuck in traffic and be
Yeah.
miserable. And my son's hot now.
Yeah.
But I know Julio,
Yeah.
didn't you try something with your daughter? Didn't you take her to like
Yeah.
a 9 hole or something? Like he's been
So
around the bend, man.
yeah, I've been around it. So literally like I think 2 weeks after she came home, we took her to like a pumpkin patch. We took her to a pumpkin patch and is like looking at those pictures, it's like, holy smokes, what were we thinking? Like this is a brand new baby and here we are taking her where
Yeah.
like they got the tractors going. There's all this dust flying up and she's just like she has no idea. But my wife joined me out at on a 9 hole, and my daughter was like amazed by everything, and then she fell asleep, and it was easy. Um, got 9 holes in, which I was like, okay, we're good. Then she woke up at right at 10. I was like, all right, well, I guess it's time to go home. She's great. I took her to the range, and she was like, it was kind of like that TikTok where the dad like hit the ball bad, and
The baby's
the
laughing.
baby, yeah, the baby started laughing. Although, like for me, she was just like she was like getting scared because of like how loud the ball was when I was hitting it. She was like throwing herself back in her little or in her little car seat. But yeah, I mean, she's been around it, and it's funny too because she was born during like football season. Dude, ever since then, just her sitting down on my lap, me and my wife feeding her and always having sports on, she's just like this every time sports are on.
That's
Like
awesome.
she's
That's
stuck and
awesome.
she loves watching like YouTube golf with me. Not that like I think she really knows like what she's watching, but she, you know,
Yeah.
she like interacts with it. Like she gets excited when like someone makes a putt and there's like excitement. She'll like, you know, kind of stand herself up and want to crawl towards the TV. And then of course you will soon be introduced to Miss Rachel.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, that's going to be a game changer. It really
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
When my
I
wife
mean,
was giving birth, I was live streaming the PGA Championship.
There you go. At least you weren't playing
yep.
PS5 like some of these guys.
Man, yeah, I know when my son was born, it was right on the weekend of actually the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. That's like my birthday is right around, I think it's like mid-March is usually when they have that tournament.
Yeah.
And I was trying to play it on like not like when she was giving birth because it was like the middle of the night, but like in the morning we were at Kaiser and it was like the worst service, like the worst like internet. I'm like, what's going on here? Like you
Yeah.
guys, like come on here. I got my laptop. I'm trying to watch this. You know, like I can't sleep, so I'm literally just stuck here. And I watched a little bit of it, but are you on paternity leave for a few months?
Yeah, yeah, I'm on paternity leave right now.
Perfect. So you got the U.S. Open. If you don't go to that, you can watch it and just relax. I know you're trying to go. Now,
I just
actually,
got my tickets actually
oh,
for
you
Saturday.
did. Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Very cool. I
I'm
was
trying to
talking
Yeah.
convince.
to.
I was trying to convince my wife to let me bring the baby, but she's like, "Oh, absolutely not."
Yeah. That's it. It's
That's awesome.
first kid on your side for you, right? First
Yeah,
child.
first kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And do you have like any brothers or sisters on both ends that have kids? So you like an
Yeah,
uncle?
so my sister-in-law has a kid that's 18 months, and then my brother just had his second,
Okay.
and they're a month apart. So my son Jacob and his son Cannon are a month apart to the day.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's
That's
awesome.
freaking awesome. I know for me and my wife, both like our kid was the first on each side. I have cousins that probably have like 15 or 16 kids across them, but they're all in the Midwest, and I've never experienced a newborn until I held my son. And the
Yeah.
first time I held him, there's a picture where I'm literally, you know how like when something like a still photo, not a live photo, and like something's blurry because like in motion. Like I'm literally holding my son and I'm still and he's blurry because he literally like his legs jolted and he almost like jumped out of my arms because like they're so compact and stuff in the
Yeah,
in the womb. And it's like literally within like 10 seconds of holding him, he did that. And I like almost just handed him back to my wife. Like, I can't do this right now. Like that just scared the crap out of me. She had the hour, skin to skin time right away and
Yeah.
then hand him to me. And I was like, yeah, he's so tiny. I'm so scared. I didn't drink for like 3 months because I was like, dude, I feel like I don't know how to hold him yet. And like, the last thing I want to do is be like a little inebriated and, like, oops, and, dude, it was crazy. Nothing what I experienced, nothing what I thought at all, but it's great.
So let me ask you this, Hunter. What was your hospital accommodations like? Did you have like a rocking chair, like the pull up chair? Did you have like a full on couch to sleep on?
it was a couch that kind of pulled out into a bed,
Hmm.
but not really. It was kind of weird, but I mean, it was fine. I was there
Yeah.
for a couple days, so it wasn't too
Yeah.
bad.
So my wife, she was um she was admitted in for her labor, and man, it was. I mean, I'm 6'2", and to sleep on this little two seating person couch was like tough for me. And the pillows were like thin; they were as thin as
Yeah,
paper. And I'm like, I can't do this, man. And
yeah. I just stacked four pillows on top of each other.
I didn't even get four. They're like, oh, it's only two per room, sir. Sorry, we have other people. And I'm like, can I get an extra blanket? But then with all the machines going and like everything is like it stayed pretty toasty in there. And I was just like, I don't like this. Like, can we open a window? They're like, no, we can't. We have suicide watch. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah, not you, definitely not you. Probably. I mean, like
yeah, no.
with like moms and like the
Oh
baby
yeah,
blues are
yeah,
real,
yeah,
dude. Like
yeah. They
it's
really are.
it's
I mean,
scary.
well, and that's another thing. Like, you probably won't experience it like right out the gate, but I think once you get to about 6 months to 8 is where it's like you really start to see that transition in your wife where it's like there's the, you know, not the abandonment, but the separation anxiety, the stress levels, like the lack of food that they start intaking, but then the hair loss is even like is pretty substantial sometimes. And that's one thing like my wife's kind of, I don't want to say she's going through, but she experienced it. Like you really do see a huge difference. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that, like a lot of people, especially from like the male side, you don't talk about. Like, you know, even when you're with your buddies who have kids, it's like everyone just talks about how great the kid is, but it's like
Right.
the amazing woman who gave birth to this child did so much too, and it's like you just kind of overshadow it with like this gorgeous child that you have.
Hmm.
But it's a real thing. I mean, you know, it's it I'd be lying to you if I said like, oh yeah, you know, you just got to comfort. Like, no, it goes much deeper. Like, it's going to be like making sure that they get their extra sleep, like overtaking some extra roles to where if it comes to like having to hold the baby longer, putting them to sleep, doing bath time, doing a lot of things on your own, so then that way they can go do what they need to do. So, you know, it's a process, man. It's
Yeah.
a all of this is it's but it's the best thing you'll ever do, man. Like
Oh yeah. Oh
it's the
yeah.
best thing. You're it's gonna go by quick. Like you know, my dad told me when my daughter was coming, you know, cherish every moment because he's like these moments go by super quick. Like you don't think about how fast 4 weeks go by, but they go. I mean, these days seem shorter. Like I was just like I went golfing today, and I teed off at like 9 a.m. and I didn't get back home till almost 1. And you know, I'm like, holy smokes! Like I literally wasted, not wasted. I mean, I had fun, but I literally spent the entire day out on the course, and now I'm going home to like my daughter, and I only have a few more hours until she goes to sleep. Like I have
Hmm.
5 hours with her before she goes to sleep, and then she's out.
Yeah.
Like we got
Yeah.
to go do her swim lesson today, which was huge. It was so much fun.
Hmm.
She's the first kid floating in her class at in 3 days in, so it's pretty amazing. Um, yeah, and yeah, now she's over there snoring away, and mom's
Right.
getting ready to pass out too.
Yeah, I mean, like the days are long, the weeks are short. It's one person I talked to said that do as much as you can. Obviously, you want to try and enjoy it as much as you can, but like they get until maybe like what 18 to 20, and then they're adults forever. But you're an adult for what maybe like 60 years of your life, but you're only like a child, a baby, a
A
toddler for
toddler.
such short times. And there are a lot of obstacles, of course, when you go through that, which you'll see, Hunter. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a blessing, regardless. As long as the babies are healthy, it's great. Especially if you have a supporting cast, like any mother-in-law or any cousin, brothers, sisters, or anything like that. But
Godparents. Yeah.
godparents, exactly. But like you guys probably saw, I shot the best round of my life on Memorial Day. So let's get into golf really quickly. We had a nice little dad stand, but had the best round of my life, and it started off great, birdie, and then three straight triple putts, or what do you call them? Uh,
Three
tr-
putts.
I just called them triple putts. Three putts, yes. I just called them, yeah. And so fortunately, I was able to not let that throw me off. But let's see, my best round is a +3, which was that round. It was a 76, which was my best, tied with my best score, which I played at a 72 somewhere else at a +4 somewhere. But going down the line with Don Julio, what is your all-time best round, like score wise for right now? What was like the best score to par that you've played on an 18 hole?
Yeah, I mean, I assumed it'd be 18. I don't really spend much time on 9 holes, but
Yeah, well,
um,
you never know. And not miniature putting either.
yeah, not mini golfing. My best round came last year with a 63. Um, it was pretty solid. It was one of those days where it was just everything was jiving just right. Like
Hmm.
swing felt great. I felt like I could literally see the line of the putts. Like I was like, oh, it's right there. Like I could literally see the arc. I could see it all, and putts were just dropping. Um, and that was last year. What was it? That was probably April of 2022 last year.
And was that at 72? So was that like a nine under? Or are we talking 10 under?
Oh yeah, no, that was that was 72. Yeah,
72
so
with a
that
9
was yeah,
under.
so nine under. Yeah,
Freaking awesome. And
I
I
had
apologize, Hunter, that you're going to have to now one up that. What's your what's your best round? I mean, there's no judging here. Everyone's different, but you know.
yeah.
Uh, so I'm a mid 80s kind of guy, and
Hmm.
I feel like I can never ever piece together a round where I can get everything to go the plan. And my
Yep.
best
Yep.
round, I shot an 82.
There
It's
Nice.
you
not
go.
great,
No,
but
that's
it was an
respectable, man.
82.
It's
And
respectable. Don't get me wrong. It's tough. Golf
I
is
could
tough.
not find that whole day. I could not find a fairway. I
No
couldn't find a
way.
fairway
You were
all
just
day.
scrambling the whole day.
Scrambling the whole time, and
Wow.
it was my probably my best putting day and around
Mm.
the green play. It was like something clicked where around the greens and putting, it was like you could put any putt in front of me, and I was like, "Yep, automatic." And I think it
Yeah.
was more of a confidence thing, to be honest. It
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
holy smokes, like after you get that first long one in, you're like, "Oh, this is this is that day."
Right.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
couldn't find a fairway, so I was like, it was kind of ridiculous. But
So
yeah, it was
it
an
sounds like
82.
it's going to happen eventually. If you can find a fairway and gain a little bit of confidence, not too much on the putting side of things, because with my round that I just had, the previous round, I shot a 94. A 94 is the first round that I ever putted with my Scotty Cameron Phantom X. First time with a mallet. I'd
Yeah,
always used a blade, and I had putt practice, putted around a little bit to kind of get an idea of it. Um, but I had like 45 putts. Like I literally bogeyed on reaching a green in two on a par five. I just like could not putt. I could like anything unless it was a foot or there was no chance I was made. I had no confidence. And the place that I played, Riverside, like Julio knows, has probably like some of the smallest greens in this in like I don't know Central Valley or California. Like they're just very
I
small.
would I would say the Central Valley for sure.
Central Valley and
Yeah.
a 94 and like if I even texted the guy that I played with that day. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this, but like, I know I shot a 94 with you, and I was like, terrible. Like, I topped like every third drive, which never really happens. But do you ever heard of like people raise their play with the people they play with, or like they lower it for
100%.
people they play with?
Yeah.
I honestly, and I'm not saying this in any disrespect, I feel like that every time I play with Julio, which has only been two, I think three times maybe, three times,
Yeah.
twice in the Valley and once in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I think once I shot. I don't remember the first time we played at Fig Garden. I honestly just remember my tee shot. That was it.
I think we both shot like uh shit. I don't know why I have such a photographic memory of that, but I think we both shot like 80 that day
Really?
because we were both just starting to get back into it. But that
Yeah.
drive on one was ridiculous
I
though.
came right off of the cart, just not no practice swing. Stood up. Everyone already took their tee shot, and I just drive my three, which I never practice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it might be a good day. And
Yeah.
I three putted like the next three holes.
Yeah.
I always talk a lot of like smack to like
Hmm.
my brother or like my in-laws or whatever, and whenever I play with them, it is by far my worst round in the world.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst feeling because I know I play way better than that, and I can never piece together good rounds when I'm with them.
Yeah. I totally get that. And like honestly, the last time the one that I shot the 94 with, it's a guy who lives in my community. I met him. We played flag football once on like Thanksgiving. He had like a Nike golf shirt. I'm like, oh, you golf? What's up? And so like we started playing and really nice guy. But he beat me by two strokes. He shot a 92 and he didn't have anything special and I was just terrible. And I'm not tooting my own horn like I'm an amazing golfer. I'm definitely inconsistent. I was inconsistent in college baseball. Really, a lot of things that I do, I'm just that was my struggle, was just the consistency.
Yeah,
But with the three other guys that I play with, two of them, I had the third best score of the round out of the foursome that I was with, and I shot a 76. Two of the guys were probably in their mid 60s. One shot a one over, and one shot a one under. And and the guy that shot a one over was like, gosh, man, I'm like, I can't putt today. And I'm just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like, what's your handicap? It's like a 1.8. And I'm like, what? Like you look at him and you look at his swing and like he doesn't use his legs with his swing, whether he can't flex as much or whatever, just straight, boom, just putts great. And I'm just like, what the heck? And I felt like that made me play a little bit better than normal just because again, with Julio, the other two rounds that I played, I think I shot an 83, which was at the time my best round back in 2020, right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then the next time was I think a year later, and I
At
shot an
Rancho.
80 at Rancho
Yeah.
Solano. I shot an 80 from the tips, and if
Hmm.
I didn't like three putt on a par five to open up the round, I would have broke 80 for the first
And
time.
if you drain that 6 footer on 18, you shoot 79 for par.
Dude, I mean,
Dude, that
like,
was the worst because
uh,
it was on the line hunter. It was perfect. I told him hit it one cup on the right side. He hits it perfectly, but the speed was just a bit like he was just dying in. All of a sudden, it just breaks across the face, and he just looks back at me, and I was just like,
yeah,
oh.
I got like a perfect video going up. I got a perfect video going up of two putts from the round where it's like a birdie putt. I think it was hole 10, where I literally 5.5 feet, maybe just a slight right to left, don't play enough break, miss it. But I have a 35-foot bogey putt that I have no
Drains it.
reason of making, and I drain
Drains
it,
it.
and I'm like, why? Like, why can't we just like, come on, like, give me that birdie? It's a gimme putt that you're gonna make like 4 times out of maybe 5 6 times because we're not pros. But anyway, what is the most amount of birdies that you guys have had in a round? For me, it was the last one, which was 5, and I think I'm got very lucky with that. But what about you, Julio? If you shot 9 under, I take it was that 9 birdies, or was that like
So
eight birdies
that
and an eagle?
was
Or
that was what that was five birdies, two
two
eagles.
eagles?
Yeah, in the same round.
Jeez!
Yeah,
Wow!
it was like I said, it was a great day. Like, and the guy that I was playing with too was just like, "Can I get you a beer? Like, do you how are you like?" He literally on the ninth hole where I drove the green. I had a 12 feet coming downhill, and I just lipped it, like literally hit the inside of the cup, came out, spit out maybe 3 feet to the right side, and he was just like, "Dude, like I don't want to say anything to you. Like you're playing so freaking good." And I was just like, "Well, hey man, like I'm still open for conversation." But he's like, "You're just locked in." He's like, "You step over that ball." And I'm like, "Well, don't talk to me when I step over the ball." Like who does that? But I
Right.
was like, "We can still chat." He goes, he was just like, "Dude, I don't even want to say anything." He's like, "Just keep doing your thing." He's like, "This is so awesome to watch, man." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Like,
It's
thanks."
it's like you got a
Yeah.
no hitter. It's like, don't jinx him. Don't say anything.
Don't talk about it. Yeah.
Right? Don't talk about it. But what
Don't
about you,
talk.
Hunter? What's the most amount of birdies you've had in a round?
I've had 4 birdies in a round, all on the back nine.
There you
Wow.
go. That's
And
impressive.
I stopped keeping score because my front nine was terrible.
I love when
And
that happens.
Right?
yeah, and found a couple fairways, had a couple good approach shots, knocked them in, and yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like just when you let your guard down enough, sometimes you're just like, screw it, I'm not going to care. And then you just play loose. And you could see it on pro players when they play from time to time, the ones that are still just attacking pins instead of just
Yeah.
being complacent. And when that pressure builds, you can tell. I mean, it's true amongst everybody. Everyone handles it a little bit different. But I mean, sometimes those are your best rounds because you just had a lot of fun. You didn't really care, but
You think that's why Brooks Koepka does so well during majors? Is that he's got that like
He's
whatever
got
kind
that
of like
dog.
feel about him?
He's got that dog.
he's
Yeah,
got
he
that
knows.
dog in him.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, you can tell the difference. I mean, when it was just standard play, like he was very nonchalant. Like even when they caught glimpses of his warm up, like he really didn't do much. I mean, he was just hitting balls. He spent more time drinking water or just rolling putts for, you know, just whatever, just to get speed down. I think he was one of.
Mhm.
I think uh I think it. I forget who was announcing. Who's like the main announcer for the PGA? Oh, I forget where it was. It was at Bay Hills, and Kepka was playing.
It wasn't Faldo, right? It's not
Yeah,
Faldo anymore.
no, not Faldo anymore. I forget, but anyways, like someone has said, looks like looks like Brooksy's not making a lot of putts on the practice screen, right? And
Mm-hmm.
literally I think after he addressed it by saying like, I don't care if I make putts on the practice screen. It's not where it matters. Like if anything, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get speed.
Jim
Yeah.
Nance.
Yeah, Jim. I think it has to be
Could have
Jim.
been Jim. Could have been Jim.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, they like mentioned it, and then Brooks comes up after the round, and he's literally like, yeah, he's like, why would I want to make all my putts on a
Yeah,
practice green?
on the
He's
practice.
like, I just want to see rotation. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see that the speed is getting passed and that I'm holding lines. Like that's really
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell a big difference about him. I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he has ever since he's come up. I mean, I remember him back in 2014. I mean, the guy where I was or the guy that I worked with at the country club that I was operating was like, you know who Brooks Koepka is? And I was like, no. He goes, pay attention to the name. He's going to be a big deal. And I was like, okay. And I'm watching him, and like the dude's struggling off the tee box. He's having a tough day. And I'm like, how is he going to be he's like, he's just different, man. Like this dude wins. And I'm like, he hasn't even won anything yet. Like, what are you talking about? And he just goes, he's got that killer instinct. Sure enough, now look at him. He
Yeah.
surpassed Rory. Like,
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
that's
that's a slap in
huge.
Rory's face, man. I mean, I think with Brooks, he's the kind of guy that rises to the occasion. If it's like a John Deere Classic and he's playing in it, he doesn't really care. I know
Yeah.
when COVID hit and all those majors that went through, he played terrible. Not only was he a little injured, but I think with his knee at the time, but he's like, I get pumped up with the crowd. You know, when the people are watching me, I get pumped up. I love it. But when there was no crowd, it just felt like I was playing a practice round and I just wasn't as into it. And what was the thing he said where he's like, you play a major, you have half the people that are going to be too nervous and they're not going to be able
Yeah.
to, play, and
Yeah.
then he knocks everybody down where he's like, they're easier, which not obviously they're easy, but like with the field, half themselves is going to give themselves away because of just the pressure that's amounts. And he's like, I want that pressure that makes me better, where
Yeah.
not many people can handle that. But yeah, I mean, I know Hunter was telling me he actually played with Chase Koepka for a little bit, right?
Yep.
In
That's
baseball, which
awesome.
is
Yeah. I played
such a
baseball with
small world.
Chase. I
That's
actually just
crazy.
talked to Mr. Kepka, their dad, yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I saw on TikTok that he was with Donald Trump at the DC event, that Live DC event this past weekend, and I like sent him a message. I was like, "Oh, you're with President Trump, whatever." He was like, "Yeah, I played with him for the past 3 days. Thank you for your service. Happy Memorial Day." Uh, and so that
Oh
was
wow.
pretty cool. But
That's
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
I grew up
That.
with those guys, and it's crazy because Brooks, for like how much success he's got that same friend group since like he was been like 8 or 9 years old. Like those guys are like his ride and die guys, and like he
Mhm.
doesn't
Yeah.
like bring on new guys or anything like that. So that's also like pretty sick in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that's
Yeah.
the way to go. Honestly, if you want to keep your circles tight, because when that money comes in, it's it's hard to weed people out if you allow a lot of people in your inner circle.
Look, man, I mean, I would still be a fan. I would still be a fan of Brooks Koepka, even if he ended up flipping the script and becoming John Morant. Like I would be like, hey, this dude's badass.
What do you mean? With just like throwing a gun like in his Instagram stories, just like,
just
yo,
trying,
what's up?
just trying to be like, just trying to be like a thug, pretty much. Like John Morant grew up with, he grew up with both parents, and apparently he went to like a private elementary school, private high school, like, all this stuff. Grew up in like a suburb house, like he had it all. So for him to try and act like, throwing around crip signs and
Well,
all
like
this stuff, like
Malibu's most wanted, just like
literally, exactly. That's a great way to put it. So let me,
dude.
so
That
I got a question for you, Hunter. So what got you into golf? Like how long have you been playing golf?
So I worked at a where they have the Honda Classic. I valeted there
Hmm.
for a couple years. Never got into golf really there until the very end. Um, and then even then it was like very sporadic, like once a month maybe here and there. And then
Mhm.
uh, I joined the Navy and I started playing a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now I try to play as much as I can. I'm freaking
There you
horrible
go.
at it. But I played baseball my whole life. I played in college, and I just like that competitiveness and like being
Yeah.
hard on yourself and like that
Mhm.
grind. It's just like something
Hmm.
that's very lucrative to me. So,
Well, what
Right.
would you say? What would you say is like the one part of golf? And this, I don't know what position you played as a baseball player. I personally, I was a pitcher.
Yeah, I didn't
So
even ask. I didn't even ask. I know. I was a pitcher too, but what did you play? Totally curious.
So in high school, it was kind of weird, right? So in high school, I caught, but on my summer team, I played shortstop and second base, and then I went to college and I played second base there.
Okay.
Nice,
Okay.
nice. So the one thing that I think really got me addicted to golf was the fact that it reminded me of being on the mound, right? So you can understand this for being a catcher, like the you dictate the pace, you dictate, the outcome of what the situation play is going to be. I mean, you are, the essentially, like if you're playing chess, you're the queen, like you're the ultimate piece in the center. And I forget what movie it's from. I want to say it's For Love of the Game, but it's the most loneliest place on the entire field. Like
Mm-hmm.
like everybody there is there to back you up, and your best friend is your catcher. So it's like, um, for golf, eh, I know, like John mentioned, he plays based off of like the people that he's playing with, and that does have a huge piece. But I've gotten to a point to where it's like I focus more on the course. I mean, it's ultimately you against the course, because you're playing the undulation, you're playing, the draw, the cut, the trees, the bunkers, every obstacle that's in your way. And that was really like, once I was able to kind of like compare those two and see the similarities, I was like, oh dude, I got a problem. My wallet's gonna hurt. I'm gonna be spending a lot of money on this game. And sure enough, like that's really what. But I think the biggest thing that brings me back to this game, what the heck, my Siri just turned on. Sorry, that was super weird. Um,
Freaking government's trying to pipe on in, huh?
but the thing that really brings
Everybody's
me
on
back
their
to,
phone.
yeah, the thing that really brings me back to this game, and that I love the most about it, is like the people you meet. Like, you hear about people from all kinds of different stories. Like today, the guy that I played with, um, he's an ex Green Beret from the Vietnam War. He was an older dude. Him and his friend were playing, the white tees today. But I told him about this time when I went to Pearl Harbor, and my wife remembers this vividly because she was like, "Something came over you. Like, you looked pissed," and I was just like, "It's just the environment. Like, to think of like something so beautiful was so destroyed." Or was destroyed the way that it was. And he was telling me about how, like, when he went and visited the Vietnam memorial over in Washington D.C. with like 58,000 names. He's like, and the dude just started crying like on the 19th. He's like, I know so many people from there,
Hmm.
and I was like, I don't know what that ever be like. I hope that there's not a day where you know I would have to experience that. But I said, I can say that there is a part of like being a competitor and having that killer instinct that lives with you forever. But I said I would never know what it would be like to take a life. Even if it was something um, to protect, right? Like,
Hmm.
Right.
I mean, the closest thing I could think of is just like protecting my daughter or my
Hmm.
wife. But
Yeah.
if I were to do that like on the street, like somebody came up to my daughter and tried to take her, and I did something, I'm going to jail. It's manslaughter,
Yeah.
But when you're given a license to do so, man, that's some power, and so does the other person across from you. It's scary to think about. But yeah, this weekend, I have a lot of friends who served, um, and I've met a lot of amazing people through golf that have served and that I consider, very close friends or acquaintances, and I couldn't imagine it, man. It's like, I don't see Memorial Day as the same of like, oh yeah, let's go out to the beach, let's go out to do this. It's like, let's take a moment of silence and really, really be grateful for what we have, because
No.
we're on the verge of something that could be really detrimental to the history of America as well as the world. Like, we
No.
have to really tread lightly. So yeah, so appreciate your service, man. Like,
Yes, we will.
that takes a very, very, very special person to go and put themselves amongst everyone and say, "Hey, I'm here for you." Like, we greatly appreciate that, and I guarantee you don't get enough appreciation or enough gratitude for it.
I appreciate that, man. That really does mean the world. It's kind of crazy, you know, when you sign up, you don't really think of all the repercussions until you're actually in the thick of it, right? And
Hmm.
so like
Yeah.
going on deployment and missing like a Christmas and Thanksgiving and like being the best man at your brother's wedding and like just small things like that kind of like add up, and it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, you know, like maybe we're not at war, like maybe we're not doing something, but like there is a sacrifice there that ultimately you're, you know. So I appreciate those words, man. I really do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, life is life is fast, man. Like, and when we're kids, we're riding on cloud nine. Like, you have every opportunity, every mistake to make to really not have it be, um, I would say, impactful to your everyday life, right? Like, if you break a window, oh, okay, well, all right, Miss Johnson, I'll me and my parents will pay for it. Then you have to go pay back your dad. You do some lawn mowing jobs, but like, you do some type of spraying, for an example, that's a misdemeanor, right? Like, like, there's consequences to everything that you do. And I feel like all of us as human beings, as yeah, just as people, like, we take some of these smaller things that we have for granted tremendously. I mean,
Oh yeah.
in like, I was just sharing in our last podcast, like, about a month ago, I was laid off of my job, and I didn't know what to do. I could only think about my little one and my wife, being that, like, I was the primary, to everything that we have. But it was the best thing for me, man. Like, to spend time with my daughter, to be able to, like, go play golf and just kind of take a little bit of me time. Like,
Probably needed.
yeah, it was so needed, and we get so committed into things that we do. But it's like, in your situation, particularly, Hunter, like, my advice is just, and I'm sure you do this, which is like, be in those moments, your brother's
Hmm.
wedding, like, really insert yourself, and, like, don't look at your phone, don't, like, get distracted, like, really hone and be in these things. And it's the same thing with your son Jacob. Like, be in these moments, man. It's going to be the most amazing thing. And the coolest thing that I can say about it is, like, you're going to discover a whole nother part of yourself, and why it is that you do things, and, like, maybe why you don't want to do certain things anymore. It's not just because it's not cool or you lost interest, but it's like, raising a boy. And I say this because my 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 cousin, who I consider literally like my brother, I've known him since he was born, and I was always the big brother to him. And so that was kind of my first experience of raising somebody, even though I didn't have the financial responsibility. But it was like, I still did everything I could to be there, which was be at his baseball games, take him to soccer, take him to Boy Scouts, do everything, pick him up from school, did all that stuff. And it's like, I see it now that he's older, and I see the way that he conducts himself as a man. I'm like, whoa, like, I I I did that. Like, I inspired that. And it's the same thing, man. Like, raising a boy is, it's really special. But having a little girl, bro, it's the best. You're the superhero every single day. You're the knight in shining armor to them for everything. It's the way that my daughter looks at me when she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, it's dad." I'm like, "Oh, my heart just skipped a beat, man. It's great.
Yeah,
It's
once you
great."
once you once you have your son finally smile at you, when they finally start smiling, I think it's like a month or so in. Like, I'm not an emotional guy, but like, dude, I've never been so emotional with like ever since I had my kid. Like, and it's nothing wrong about it, but like I just didn't expect it. It was just overwhelming, and it's just like a new feeling that like I never had really experienced.
Yeah.
And like, I think right when we had our kid, we were watching This Is Us. Have you ever seen the show This Is Us?
Yeah.
And dude, like every episode, my wife and I were just like bawling because of like the kids and the babies, and they're just like, oh my, like the worst time to watch that because like we're so emotional with our kid now with the show. But like, yeah, it's awesome. Like your kid, he'll pick things up from you. You'll see little things that you see, or your mom or dad will be like, oh, I remember when you did that, or he's just like you did that too. And like, it's cool to see that. And then the whole, oh, does he look like you or does he look like mom? And sometimes mom might get a little upset because they say he looks like you more, or like you might, like all these like little things that people don't think about.
Oh
And
heck no, man!
it's
I take that. I'm like, of course she looks like me. Look how handsome I am. Look how great this is. I suck that in.
no, I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I'm just saying
No,
people
I
will
know. I'm
always
just
say
saying it's a joke.
like I was literally last week, my wife and I went out to eat with my father-in-law, and we're walking by a table, and this lady goes like, "Oh wow, is that your dad?" Like to me, and I'm like, "No." It's like she goes like, "Oh, your son looks just like the dad and the grandpa," and I'm like, "That's not my dad, dude. Like that's my wife's that's my wife's dad." She's like, "Oh," because like some people they you have no idea who's who. They
Yeah,
just see a grandparent, and I was just like,
yeah,
"Yeah." No, and he's like, oh, my father-in-law's he loves compliments. I mean, who doesn't like compliments, right? But he goes like, oh yeah, he gets the good looks from me, obviously, and he's
Yeah.
like always enjoys that moment. But yeah, I mean, just obviously you're gonna enjoy it as much as you can. I mean, having a boy's awesome. I'm now tossing him around and he's loving it, like throwing him up in the air, and he's walking, he's running all over the place. You gotta put rubber bands or baby proof everything, man, because he'll take out things everywhere. He's just like a little interior designer where it's like, oh, that doesn't belong on the table. Nope, that doesn't belong on the table either. Nope, that doesn't belong on the table either. And then it's all on the ground. He's like stepping on it and he's like falling because he's stepping on it. And it's like, what are we doing? But anyway, again, obviously, yeah, we not just us, but in terms of military service, I mean, obviously it's really important for this country, and not too many people say it enough, in my opinion. And there's not enough gratitude going around, like Julio said, especially in today's times for that. But obviously, we do, appreciate your service. And with the Navy, I know, which is awesome. It's usually a golf course around a Navy base, right? Which is huge. I mean, I think that would be one of the
three.
coolest perks ever. I mean,
Oh,
like
you
I
guys
feel
got three?
Yeah, we have three,
Where are you
and then
located?
there's a Marine Corps, so there's really four. But yeah,
wow.
There
yeah.
you
And so
go.
the one that is basically my home course, I live like 4 minutes away, is the Navy Sea and Air Course, which is on Coronado Island, and it borders the Pacific
Oh,
Ocean.
nice.
So it's
Nice.
sick. Yeah.
There you go.
Gee.
So let me ask you this. Is Coronado the actual Top Gun area or is that somewhere else?
It's somewhere else. I think
Can't
it's in Utah.
disclose. Oh,
I think
okay.
it's in Utah. No,
If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Yeah.
Coronado is like the Navy aviation like
Academy.
cornerstone, but it's more
Oh,
for like where they teach like helicopter pilots how to fly and stuff. So like
okay.
we have a bunch of helos here. They're constantly running back and forth.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, I mean, I think that'd be freaking sweet. I mean, one of the perks to definitely be, in the Navy for sure are those golf courses if you're into it. I know, but going really quickly into golf, I know we're getting close to wrapping up. We know we're talking a lot about personal golf stuff, but on the professional side of things, I don't know if Julio's seen this. I know Hunter. I feel like you're really into the golf thing. I flirt with that Twitter account and mine back and forth just to see what's going on. But have you guys heard of like Jack Nicklaus's like comments recently
Yes.
about just how he's like, I really don't consider those guys a part of the game anymore. I don't mean that in a nasty way or anything. And I'm like, this is the same guy that legitimately back in the 60s with Arnold Palmer left the PGA of America to create the PGA Tour, which is basically like leaving the PGA Tour to create the LIV. And he
Yeah.
also has two tournaments that, the Memorial, I think the Honda Classic, that, so obviously, he's going to say that, but I just think it's honestly the most ridiculous thing.
It's
What do you guys think about those comments? I mean,
Go
I,
ahead,
I hate
Hunter.
that. I hate that it's Jack. I hate that it's Jack because he's such a likable and great guy. And
Yeah,
you know,
it's a guy that's a legend of the game that's so opinionated about something that's kind of ruining it, and it's really forming a lot of people's opinions. Like he
mhm.
has that power, right? So like if
Yeah.
when you're looking at someone with authority that's been there, that's done that, it holds a lot of weight.
Oh
And
yeah.
so when he says something like that, a lot of people are just going to jump on that bandwagon because he said it, which is kind of unfair. He's not
Yeah.
letting a lot of people make their opinions for
Mhm.
themselves.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree.
and it's kind of ironic because supposedly he's designing a golf course in Saudi Arabia. I think I saw
Yeah, I saw that too.
the
I saw
Twitter
that
thing
too.
on that. So like, there's a little bit of hypocrisy
Hmm.
on that side anyway. So it's kind of like head scratching when you hear it from a guy like Jack Nicklaus. I mean, obviously, right? He has a vested interest in the PGA Tour, right? He's got a
Hmm.
lot of courses that the PGA Tour uses, and I know I don't know if he's a stock owner or I don't know how that works. I think he gets paid.
He's a board. He's a board member.
Yeah,
He's a board
so
member.
um, yeah, I just think it's kind of messed up. I wish that those like figureheads would kind of stay out of it, and kind of like
Yeah,
John Rahm said, was it yesterday or today, where
I
he was
think it was
talking about
yesterday.
how
Yeah.
like the politics are getting
Hmm.
involved, and like he was talking about Sergio coming and playing on the Ryder Cup, which is something I really am invested in. It's something I want to see.
Hmm.
Um, I
Yeah.
would like to see, but I don't know. There's a lot of players talking about the Ryder Cup right now. I know
Hmm.
Rory talked about it this morning about Brooks, and he said Brooks should be on the Ryder Cup team. Only one guy, and then like all the live guys from the Europe team don't like belong, which is like
It makes
hypocritical in
no
itself.
sense.
It makes
Like,
no
what?
sense.
What
Yeah,
are we
it's
doing here?
kind of funny.
So I just want to comment on the whole Jack situation. So you have to remember he's saying these things because one, yes, he was one of the first to do it, but also two, it's it's a business tactic, right? Like he knows he's an influential person. He knows that he has royalties from his courses being on the PGA Tour as well as him being an executive board member. Like
So, like, any
he
press is good press, kind of a thing.
exactly, but also too, it creates a riff in the whole entire golf community where now people are getting more fired up, which means that it's going to bring um it's
People
going
that
to
normally
bring
don't talk golf to it,
yeah,
to
it's
the
going
kind
to
of
bring
thing.
more
Like,
attention. It's going to bring more attention to it. People are going to want to spend their money to go see these players, but also too is like, yes, the fact that he's building a course in Saudi Arabia, like you're going to have two course or two PGA events now in the Saudi, in Saudi Arabia. Like there's only one that really doesn't even get much attention already, which I think is the HBC or the Chinese bank. I forget what it's called. Anyways,
Yeah,
but yeah, the they already have that event there, but that one doesn't get a lot of televised time either. You know,
mhm.
they market it really well because Rolex is a huge investor to that, but Rolex is a huge investor to also uh,
almost every
Augusta.
event.
Yeah, almost every event, just like
Yeah.
Omega, right? Like
Hmm.
they're all the same. So my point is that it's a business tactic for him. He's just trying to say like, oh well, this is how it is. And also, I feel like Jack's kind of filter of like kind of really thinking things through is subtly starting to kind of creep into like a Joe Biden type,
Yeah.
kind of
I didn't say
forgetfulness.
that. I didn't say that. What are you talking about? We have a
Yeah,
video of you saying it like 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
yeah. But
Hmm.
then uh the other part about like the Ryder Cup, and this is where this is where like the PGA, you know, um, board has to make a decision, which is like, do you continue to let the players who have made that move to play, or do they not?
Hmm.
Because if not, you're going to continue to have like this favoritism. Like everyone's talking like, oh yeah, well Brooks should play, and then everyone wanted to say, well Brooks didn't even get enough attention at when he won the PGA, and it was like, well that's not true because even the tournament director or whoever was like, oh no, we took tons of pictures, we got tons of film time, but the media just wanted to portray that we didn't give him any attention that he won. So
Well, it
they're
might.
doing.
It's going to be very interesting to see if Brooks does really well, and he auto qualifies with the Ryder Cup points
Yeah.
because he was second in points after the PGA Championship, and
Hmm.
I think it's the top six are
Oh,
auto
Yeah.
like,
qualified
yeah.
for the Ryder
Yeah.
Cup team, and like there's not a whole lot of say on that, right? So like if he auto
Right.
qualifies, is Zach? I think it's Zach Johnson is
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
is
he's one of
Yeah.
the one of
Yeah.
the
he's just gonna
captains,
say
yeah.
no, sorry, we can't
Hmm.
have you because you're a live guy. Like,
Yeah.
And I feel like it's such a media driven thing that even the players mentioned it when the Masters came around. I think it was Brooks that was like, I played around with Rory, I played around with, blah, like someone else. Like
Yeah.
off the air, and like not at the Masters, but like in Florida or whatever, like it's really just media driven, just like
Yeah.
everything else. It's
Yeah.
like
He was
there's
saying they see
no
each other
riff.
regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
He was saying they see each other regularly.
No.
I'm pretty sure Brooks Koepka and Justin Thomas work out at the same place in Jupiter,
Yeah.
Mm,
so they
yeah.
have to
Yeah.
run into each other. They have the same trainer, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, could you imagine being in that situation though, where like, let's just say like you and one of your friends left to go to something else, and you guys are really famous, but like everyone's like, oh my gosh, he hates him. Oh my gosh, he hates you. And then you're like literally texting him like, dude, are you seeing this? Like, what the heck? Where are they getting this information? Like, I'd be really irritated. It'd be
yeah,
so hard not to say something. Like some of these guys have just been so quiet about it, where they're not really, until the majors came about, everyone kind of thought that it was a live versus PGA until
Yeah.
you really heard them come up and got asked the questions, and they're like, you guys are the ones that created this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have no issues with it.
so
Yep.
talking about rankings, I don't know if you guys have seen the OWGR, the most recent one that's come out.
Was that the one that I think like Phil was like 27th or something like that? He's
So
actually ranked pretty high, right?
I think it's photos. So it's Scotty Scheffler 1, John Rahm 2, Rory 3, but it has Brooks Koepka as 14.
I see
Whoa.
that. Yeah.
So
Which is
they
crazy.
have Matt Fitzpatrick, Cameron Smith, Will Zalatoris, Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau, and Sam Burns in front
Wait,
of.
how is Will Zalatoris? He hasn't played a tournament in I feel like months. How is he still? He
No
hasn't
idea.
played, right?
He's
He
at
hasn't
10.
played, right? Yeah,
Will Zalatoris is at 10.
but he hasn't played, right? I'm not crazy, right? He
I
hasn't
haven't
played for
seen
a
him play
while.
a tournament in at least the last
Yeah. His back's all jacked up right now. He hasn't touched the club in God knows how long.
So
Well,
that
Tony
doesn't make
Finau and
sense.
Jordan Spieth just missed the cut this past weekend
And they
at the
moved up.
Mm-hmm.
Colonial, and
They moved up.
I don't know.
I don't get how it works. I mean, like it definitely seems biased, and like I don't know the correct formula with that, but I feel like there has to be a correct formula. If they were able to figure out how NIL deals work in college, I feel like
They
they
still
should
haven't
figure
figured that
something.
out.
Oh no, they have. It's definitely ridiculous, but I mean, like that was the whole thing, right? Like when college sports was like, oh, athletes should be paid, some at least should be paid, and should it be per team, per college, for how much they bring in, and then now they base it off of the player. Now I feel like if points are awarded, let's say each round you have to play 4 rounds. If you play 3 in the live, get 75% of the points that they normally would get, right? You're playing
Yeah.
against you're playing against great players as well. So I assume there's got to be something out there. I mean, there's so many mathematicians that should be able to figure this out, but
So on the knock on that is that the PGA Tour is saying that these live guys aren't playing PGA Tour caliber courses,
That's
and
that's
they're saying,
BS. That's BS
yeah,
in my
it
in
is.
my opinion. That's BS in my opinion because
yeah,
these courses still have to go through USGA. Since they're all Trump courses for the most part, like they all have to go through USGA. They still have to all go through tournament regulations. Like you can't say that they're not tour, you know, um,
They'll probably
tour
say whatever
level
they can.
courses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's complete BS
I
in
agree.
my
They
opinion.
actually tweeted like a stat out that says it's actually harder than the ones that they're playing.
Oh no, don't tell them that.
Yeah, they
Oh
said like
man.
Well, no, I saw that on Twitter. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, they were saying like the slope numbers are higher and like the par numbers are higher. So I just
Yeah,
Interesting.
and that's actually exactly what I was going to say too. Is like someone brought out the stats from the New Zealand tournament. They were saying that like the greens were like at a 14 and a half stemp. Like
What?
you can't go that high on the PGA Tour. Like you literally can't because since they play those courses, a lot of these. Well, I'm not saying that they can't, but it really wouldn't even be feasible. But yet you still have guys. You still got guys going 10 under through 4 days on a 14 and a half stemp. Like that's still impressive. Golf is still golf. You still got to play it. If
Hmm.
I'm putting on ice, like putting on ice,
Hmm.
you got to play it. I mean, you know,
did you
Yeah.
see this or the past weekend tournament at Colonial? Did you watch any of that?
I watched some of it.
I just saw the debacle of blocks round. I really didn't catch a lot of it.
I saw the
Yeah.
playoff. I saw the playoff at the end.
That's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous. But the whole weekend, there was guys throwing darts on the green, and they were firing off it was like concrete.
Hmm.
It was
Ugh,
ridiculous. It was like there were some
man.
balls that were like perfectly placed. It would have been a great
Mm.
shot. Balls weren't checking up. It was ridiculous. And all the commentators were saying like, "Yep, they're tearing down this course after this anyways, so they're gonna make it as firm as possible." And I was like, I don't want to see
How
that.
much
Like, I
firmer
don't.
could it get?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
right.
know.
There's nothing worse than playing a course where you literally can't get any stick on the ball. And I mean, like, out of all of us, obviously, in my opinion, and Julio's the best one. And I'm sure, like, when you play, I mean, like, spinning the ball is hard. Spinning the ball is hard. But like when you're not a pro or someone that plays like almost all the time and has time to work on that, really not even a dad. It's tough to be that with at least a dad that you're around your kid, right? You could be you can be a bad
I'm out to
parent
go
and
get
not be
milk.
around. Yeah, 4 hours later, come back hammered. Sorry, they're all out. But like it's not fun when you play on greens that are super fast and you don't have that practice because it's like if you can't get that spin, it's such a skill to get that spin down.
Well, that's like I was telling you. That's like I was telling you about my tournament, dude. Like I had to play, D2 NCAA pins for my Sonoma County tournament, and the greens were 12 and a half. But dude, I was hitting. I was just to say how hard they were. I mean, the first day I hit 15 of 18 fairways, and I hit 13 of 18 greens in regulation, and I had seven three putts to shoot 86 on my first day. Like,
It's like Michael
dude,
Block.
yeah, dude. I mean, it was bad. I mean, I was hitting perfect shots that were like, okay, this should bounce, check, a little bit of zip. No, they took off towards the back or even rolled off, and I'm just like, I couldn't have hit that shot any better. Like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I even tried hitting high missiles. Ball would bounce up halfway through the height of the pin, roll off. I'm like, there's no way. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still had fun, like, but it's tough, man. It's a different kind of golf. I mean, that was like last year when I was talking about my US Open qualifier at Fountain Grove too. Is like those were 13 and a half, and you're talking about massive amount of slopes. I mean, I had a putt that I literally just nicked it, like just gave like just a little bump, rolled to like the edge, took off down the hill. It was either I made it or it was off the front of the green. I just went over to my caddy, grabbed my wedge. I was like, I got a 50-yard chip now. Like that's how hard sometimes it is. And I'm a great like go out and play skins type of guy, but dude, tournament golf is tough for me, man. Tournament golf is really tough for me. I get too competitive, and I think that's what ends up blowing me up.
Speaking of tournament golf, I don't know if you guys follow YouTube golf at all, but the Good has got their tournament going on right now, or it
Mm-hmm.
just finished up and they're cutting the video, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
Oh man, have you watched that, Julio?
I have. I
Dude, I
think
watched the
it's
whole hour and a half or 2.5 hours or whatever, like over like a few days and
yeah,
50 what how 80 something players, 80 something.
yeah.
But like I thought it was crazy. I mean, about like a month ago, Julio was like, Fat Perez is over here throwing darts, Bob does sports. Let's get him on the tour. And then he goes to this good tournament. Obviously, he didn't really seem to take it seriously. He's like, yeah, I my flight came in late, so I decided to not do a practice round and took sleep over my practice round. And he shot like a 10 over. But some of these guys, man, a free entry, $50,000 pot. This could definitely take off and end up being like one of those like 500K in not like next year, but like in a few years with how much speed this can pick up, especially with live players that aren't playing every single week. They could definitely like heighten the pot a little bit, attract more people, get fans in there. It's definitely, I think, going to change YouTube golf.
Well, Live
I
just
It
mean,
is.
yeah.
Live just changed their rule to where only the top 24 in a tournament get to keep their teams. The rest of them become free agents.
Yep.
Yep,
It's just
yep.
too.
This year, that was one of the new that you heard about Matt Wolf, right? How he might be
He's
traded
gone. No,
from.
they gutted him. He's gone.
Well, no, they
He's on
gutted
the
him on the Instagram. So, or is
yeah.
that for sure? It's not just Instagram. It's actually on the.
Yeah, I think that's there's rumors out. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Dan Rappaport put it out that he's
Mm-hmm.
off the team now, but it's gonna be like because this is his second team now for for
Dude, he could
live.
be screwed. He could be screwed, man, because he's so young and
Yeah,
like
like
he hadn't really put too much PGA Tour experience where it could backfire. You know?
I mean, hopefully he invested that money well with
Hmm.
what he got. I
Hmm.
mean, but to what you said, like I think this is the next thing. I mean, like I was getting emails because I'm a huge fan of Swag Golf, and so I was getting emails since I'm a part of their collections club or whatever about the tournaments that were going on like in Texas and the one that was going on over in Arizona and stuff, and it was like $150. Like that's nothing compared to like what I paid for some of my other tournaments. Like, why would I not go do this? But that's there's a big movement happening right now with like content creation and like the way that it's disrupting like the actual big box media companies as we see it right now. Like everyone is going towards content creation. Everyone, it's simpler, it costs less, like there's
Even the
less risk.
pros, like
Yeah,
Bryson
it's less
DeChambeau,
risk.
and people, yeah.
Yeah, it's less risk. You have more 1099s. You got a lot more entrepreneurs. Like everything could be tied up to where you don't even need to lose any money. You can just say it's going to your LLC and bam, here's all this cash, and I think it's a big thing. Like I truly see like the Corn Fairy slowly starting to like disappear, and I see a lot more mini tours starting to come up to where now with Live with PGA, it's gonna be like a college. Like I feel like there's gonna be some type of like PGA/Live draft that could come up in the next five to
Could you
10 years.
imagine a PGA Tour draft?
I
I'm
mean,
watching
I mean,
the
why?
team
I mean,
match
why?
plays now in
I mean,
college, and
why?
it's
I mean,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, why would they not though? Like you have all these amazing golfers, but yet there's still guys that are on the Corn Ferry, or guys in Canadian
Hmm.
Tour, guys in the China Tour who are
Hmm.
like grinding. Like
Yeah. Like,
imagine if the PGA did lighten up and say, hey, you know what, we'll do a 2 year guaranteed contract with a sponsor that will make sure that you're able to do it. If you don't hit these performance quotas, like you're done,
yeah.
just like any
well,
other sport.
did you see Kurt Kitayama's
Oh
like
yeah, we talked
path
about
to
that.
get
Yeah.
The
to
whole thing was freaking
his
crazy. Like
his list
13
is
tours.
so long. He played
It
on
was
every
in.
tour basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there isn't a tour that Kurt didn't play on, and that's just the adversity that someone would have to go through for all of that, especially with golf being such an expensive game, and you have to pay to play in majority of these tournaments at like not a PGA event, but such a lower tier. That shit, and like also probably the support he had to have from not just his family, but just I'm sure there had to been times where he had to borrow money or things like that. Because it is like you played college baseball, like Julio and I, like before they made this recent deal with like the minor leagues, like people were just I think it was like you remember Sean Figgins and Juan Pierre. I think you remember Sean
Before
Figgins, they
Juan
played for
Pierre,
the
yeah, he was a
Angels.
Marlin.
Yeah, yeah. Sean Figgins played for the Angels. Short guy, just real scrappy kind of hitter. I think he played middle infield. But I think they were like roommates when in minors back in the day, and they were like, we literally would just get like 50 to 100 hot dogs just like with our money, and that would be all that we ate were just hot dogs because that's all we could afford with everything else, because you got to pay the club fee, you got to pay these other little things, and you're getting paid like $400 a month, and they're probably sharing a one bedroom or studio apartment with one, two, three guys. And unless you are like, who's the pitcher from Garrett Cole, unless you're Garrett Cole, where you grew up in Orange County, you're rich, you get drafted in the first round by your favorite team, the New York Yankees. You're like, you know what, I'm going to go to college just to have the college experience where anything can go wrong, especially as a pitcher. But he knew that he was fine regardless because he was in a nice wealthy family, and then he ends up getting drafted number 1 overall after UCLA, and you're just like, well, that worked out. But like, how many people try to go that route before NIL and just their arms blow out, like an
Yeah.
injury happens, and next thing you know, like, it's not like the college football where you tear an ACL and there's still a chance if you're a stud, because there's so few of
Yeah.
NFL players. But like, it's so hard just in any sport to really
I'm
make it. It's crazy.
I'm telling you guys, there's a really, really good, like it's like a 7 episode series on YouTube where it says it's literally like the story of the Corn Ferry presented by Callaway. And they have like 4 of the top college players who just graduated. They get onto the Corn Ferry. Dude, the first opening episode just puts it into reality how hard it is to be a professional golfer. Like, this dude is like going around to all of his buddies saying, "Hey, are you going to be down in this area? Like, could I catch a ride with you? How many Greyhound buses do I need to take? What would it like, weighing everything out with cost of like, would it be cheaper if I just took a plane flight?
Mhm.
Maybe once I get there, I'll find 7 or 6 guys that we all just go to Motel 6." And that's exactly what it was. It was like he took like 6 Greyhound buses to get down to some event in Texas. Then he gets there and he's in like the lunch area, and he goes over to a table and just says, "Hey, where do you guys have any plans of where you're staying?" Nobody had plans of where they were staying. So he was like, "There's a Motel 6 2 miles down the road. Let's take the shuttles that they offer here. Let's get over to Motel 6, and then we all just take like like an airport shuttle to come here tomorrow morning." And they all went in, but the best thing is like, and this was me in college, they all went over to Little Caesars and asked for the waist. And so they had all of that like for the whole entire
Oh,
week.
what?
Yeah, it was great. And like that was so funny. Like when I saw the TikTok video of someone talking about like, "Oh, you guys want to know like a Little Caesars hack? Go in just before closing and ask, could I get the waist?" And they literally give you a trash bag of every piece of pizza that is in there that they didn't sell, every breadstick combination, everything.
God.
Sodas that they're getting ready to throw out, like they give you everything because they just toss it.
This is a college hack that I wish I knew back in the day,
Dude,
man.
if it
Oh
wasn't
man.
if I didn't have a stoner buddy who knew about all this stuff, I would have never known. It saved me so much money. Like pizza was like breakfast, lunch,
I'm fine with
and
that. I'm a
dinner.
pizza guy. I could do that
Yeah.
all day, man. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Especially back then when you're thin, you're running around all the time, like you're in
You're
such
burning
great
through it.
shape.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
my
burning through it.
gosh. Yeah.
Foul pulls for life, man.
Oh my gosh, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's a good time to wind down the podcast. I definitely want to say thanks, Hunter, for joining us tonight.
Sure.
Hopefully you enjoy. We'll probably maybe have you on again. Like I said, I'm following you. You're following us on all of our social media, so we definitely appreciate the support there. I sent out your hat today. I forgot yesterday. Work has been annoyingly busy, so you probably should get it maybe Friday or Saturday, hopefully, depending on USPS. But since you're in San Diego, it should get there sooner rather than later. But to everyone that's been able to listen and hang around, we definitely appreciate everyone else's support on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everything. I mean, obviously, we'd like to have a Four Dads tournament. One of the guys, actually, Hunter, that was part of one of the live. He was literally messaging me back and forth on Instagram, like, "Dude, you got to get a tournament, and you got to like do that." I'm like, "That'd be awesome, dude," but like no one knows of us. So like if we were good, that's one thing, like,
Yeah.
but that would mean we'd have to fork up all this money that we don't have for a tournament of people who, why would they show up unless there's like a massive prize that we'd have to fork up as well,
Yeah.
which would be
Yeah.
great, in the long run. But at the end of the day, this is just me and Julio. We started this thing just for fun, two dads, just talk sports, and yeah, again, thank you everyone watching. We're gonna head out and be alert for any new content, any new coverage. Hopefully, Julio and I can get around in for Father's Day. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But
Yeah.
yeah, take care, everybody.